Well, thank you very much. And yes, we are indeed joined here in our makeshift studio by the Deputy Prime Minister of Lesotho. Good evening, sir, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Well, I wanted to start by asking, well, you have what, a day? Now
Yes.
It's a day to go before that deadline, the SADC deadline, for you to indicate to SADC whether, in fact, you will be in a position to publish that report.
Oh no, you are getting it wrong. We don't have a day to report to SADC. Actually, the report was to be published within 14 days. And we have our internal processes at home. In fact, what SADC wanted was to get a sense and a report from us if within 14 days we would have started the processes which will lead to the publication of the report. So that is what we have exactly done. We have already started those processes, and normally the reports of commissions of this nature are published in Parliament. So the Parliament has been convened, has been summoned. It will be sitting on the 8th, so the actual publication will be done on the 8th.
On the 8th?
Yes.
Then let's talk now about the other matters. SADC, or at least members within SADC, did express their frustration about the constitutional and security and public sector reforms that they had urged you to move with speed in really improving on. How far is that process?
Oh no, that thing is not new in the Vuyo. At least as a journalist, you have always been involved and engaged with the processes in Lesotho, and that is not new. In fact, it is this coalition government in its founding document, which has indicated that within this 5-year term, it would like to conduct the reforms to an extent that we are even calling ourselves a reformist government. And those reforms will, among others, include security sector reforms, parliamentary reforms, constitutional reforms, and others. So really it is our agenda. SADC is engaged also, as you remember, that since 2014, when there was an instability in the country, SADC intervened, and yes, of course, we are working with SADC. I think, as I met with the president of Mozambique yesterday, and he's happy with the developments and the developments that I reported to him.
So far. Let's come to the African Union. What for you have been the biggest issues? I mean, everyone coming to this summit had been talking about, silencing the gun in parts of the continent, has been talking about the threat of terror, Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab in Somalia and Nigeria. What for you were the biggies?
Oh yes, you are aware that 1 or 2 years ago, SADC adopted a very ambitious agenda called 2063 development agenda. And in that agenda, one of the issues or one of the objectives is to ensure that by 2020, as the continent, we have silenced the guns, as you are saying. In fact, by silencing the guns just means ending the conflicts. And from the reports that we have received, really there is a great hope that Africa now is taking its destiny into their own hands, because most of the conflicts that we are having in the continent now, it is African Union itself, the African countries themselves, which are attending to those problems and resolving them. So really our partners are just coming to assist us, but in the main, Africa is in the front rank now of addressing its conflicts and its own problems. So we are very much gratified by this development.
There is also the question of the ICC. We don't know yet as to what the resolution is or what it is exactly that has been tabled. But we do understand that a couple of days ago, an impassioned plea was made to members of the African Union to make sure that everyone reads from the same script, is on the same page with regard to how the continent is going to relate to the ICC.
On that one, really, I don't think it is going to be a matter for debate today. I've not seen that on the agenda, but we know that there are still discussions going on at the level of AU and the ICC itself on actually the participation of Africa in the ICC, because there are concerns here and there that the manner in which things are obtaining now is not quite what we were expecting, and we are engaging them. The African Union is engaging them on these issues. So we will wait for that.
But do you have a preferred position as Lesotho?
No, as Lesotho, that we are better served by working within the multilateral institutions like African Union. We are better served by taking the position of the African Union. So as a country, we know that we are better served by going along with with the region, SADC, as well as the African Union.
Now, another issue which has come up over the past couple of days, which I think would be an issue for you domestically as well, because you're pretty much in the same boat, I would imagine, as the African Union, and that is the question of skills and resources. African Union saying that they are not able to afford skills that this Union requires to pursue its agenda, in large part because the bigger multilateral institutions are able to afford some of the best experts that the continent has, which means that the African Union itself is unable to actually attract and absorb Africans to really pursue its own agenda. And add to that the question of money, that the continent doesn't have a lot of money to be able to afford to pursue its programs.
Yes, on the question of resources, in particular money, which is needed to fund the union, there was a committee that was appointed 1 or 2 years ago, which was led by the former president of Nigeria, President Obasanjo, to try and look other alternatives of how we can fund the union, because as of now, the money that union gets from the subscription of member states is not enough. We have to also augment that by getting money from our development partners. And we think actually the position of the African Union is that we need to be taking our destiny into our own hands. In order to be able to drive our own agenda, we need to ensure that we put our money where our mouth where our money is, meaning that we need to put the bill. It is us. Yes, the development partners can assist us, but the people who need the union most are the Africans themselves. And there is a commitment. And this morning, many countries were even pledging to pay more than is expected of them, to show the commitment that as Africans we would like to fund our own union. So yes, there is still a chance, and the leadership of the union is still working on ways and means of finding alternative sources of funding the union. That is on the question of the resources. Yes, on the questions of skills, it is a challenge everywhere, but there is other people who are saying, no, let us not look into this always as there is this concept of brain drain and brain gain, that sometimes you may think that if you invest money into your own people because you don't have competitive salaries and emoluments. They go yes, abroad or to greener pastures. That does happen, but we need to continue and invest in our own people because in a way, wherever they are, we have not yet tapped on this resource of diaspora because there's a lot that we are getting and we can get. Many countries are getting so much now from their people abroad. So even as the union, if, yes, you are saying that there is a saying that we are not able to retain some of our best minds, but really that shouldn't deter us. Yes, we need to find ways and means of coming up with retention strategies, seeing how we can retain some of our best minds to work for us. That is something that we need to work on also. But there's nothing wrong really in our people going for greener pastures because in a way we can still get some benefits from wherever they are.
Lastly and very, very briefly, President Mugabe, the outgoing president of the AU, putting a cat among pigeons and saying as long as there's no equality, the future of the United Nations is also threatened. Unless there is equality among nations, where there are no powerful blocs that believe that they have veto powers. Your point of view on that?
No, that has always been the position of AU, that
do you think the time has come for that
and
to change?
It has been said, we have been engaging the United Nations on this over many years. I think the President was actually expressing the frustrations that Africans have, that now up to this date there is no agreement on the representation of Africans in that Security Council.
Shouldn't we be saying that is what we will, and no further?
No, we have to keep on engaging.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you very
thank
much.
You very much.
Thank you very much. Well,
thank
of course, the Deputy Prime Minister of Lesotho talking to us about, sharing his views and his country's views on a whole range of questions that have arisen out of this summit. Well, that's where we're going to leave it. It's back to you in the studio in Johannesburg.
Well, thank you so much. That was our contributing editor, Vuyo Mvoko, live in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. That's the capital for the 26th session, of course, of the African Union Summit. Of course, he was talking to the Deputy Prime Minister of Lesotho, discussing various issues, what was on the agenda at the summit, including, of course, one of the deadlines that Lesotho has to submit, of course, for a report on SADC. But we'll leave that news for now. Let's take a short